I welcome you all to this video lecture. I am Dr. Kanchi Bajpai, an assistant professor, guest faculty here at Pandit Sundarlal Sharma Open University, Chhattisgarh, Bilaspur. But before proceeding further, I am going to tell you all what we have learned already. We have dealt with topics like the course orientation of the history of English literature. Under this topic, I have covered many subtopics like the periods of the history of English literature and how to study literary history. I have also covered the knight's character written by Geoffrey Chaucer in his masterpiece work, The Canterbury Tales. We have already learned the historical context of the Middle Age and the Renaissance era. Now, in this topic, I am going to cover the Renaissance under the following points, that is, University Wits, Sonnets, and Elizabethan theatre. Now, let's begin with today's topic. Elizabethan age is also known as the golden age of English literature because of the University Wits, Sonnets, and Elizabethan theatre. In this slide, we are going to cover that journey through the literary renaissance of the 16th century England. Introduction to the Elizabethan era. Elizabethan era covers the reign of Elizabeth I. She ruled England from 1558 to 1603. It was a period of relative political stability, national pride, and expanding cultural ambition. The Renaissance in England is a revival of classical learning. When Elizabeth was ruling England, the Renaissance came into England at that time. And what was the Renaissance? It was a revival of classical learning, arts, and humanism, imported from Italy and transformed into something distinctly English. The literary trinity. Three pillars define this era, and those three pillars were the university wits, the sonnet tradition, and the rise of the public theatre. Now, part 1 is about the university wits. University wits, we will be covering the topic the university wits under three following subtopics. First is the morality plays, second is university wits itself, and third is the Shakespearean theatre. Now, what are morality plays? Morality plays are dramatic allegories from the Middle Ages, roughly 14th to 16th centuries, that dramatize the battle for a human soul, featuring personified virtues, vices, and abstract qualities. Abstract qualities like knowledge, good deeds. This didactic plays focus on a protagonist, often representing mankind, navigating, navigating temptations to achieve salvation. Dr. Faustus, written by Christopher Marlowe, is a very good example of morality play. Now, next topic is about university wits. University wits in literature were a pivotal group of 16th century English playwrights and pamphleteers educated at Oxford or Cambridge who dominated London's literary scene in the 1580s and early 1590s. Key figures include Christopher Marlowe, Robert Greene, Thomas Nash, John Lilly, George Pell, Thomas Lodge, and Thomas Kidd. They bridge medieval drama and Shakespearean theatre by introducing blank verse, classical themes, and complex heroic characterization. Now, third topic is Shakespearean theatre. Shakespearean's theatre was defined by the Globe Theatre, an open-air polygonal amphitheatre in Southwark, London. Built in 1599 by his company. The name of his company was the Lord Chamberlain's Men. It featured a raised thrust stage, a pit for standing, groundlings for commoners, and covered sitting galleries. It held 3,000 people and relied on daylight and imaginative language. University Wits, educated at Oxford and Cambridge. The University Wits were England's first generation professional writers, means they are the first generation of professional writers. What was their aim? Their aim was to bridge the gap between medieval drama and theoretical heights of Shakespeare. Now, in this slide, I have covered the definition of the university wits and their characteristics and their aims also. As I have told earlier in my previous slide, that a group of the 16th century playwrights and pamphleteers educated at England's two great universities. A name of that two great universities are Cambridge and Oxford. These people were known as university wits. What was their aim? Their aim is to synthesize classical learning with native dramatic tradition, transform popular theatre into a literary art form, set the structural and poetic stage for Shakespeare. Now, this is the list of the key members of the Wits. First members was that who were the alumni of Cambridge. Second, alumni of Oxford. Now, third is of Thomas Kidd. Now, we will briefly discuss these names. Cambridge alumni includes Christopher Marlowe, Robert Greene, and Thomas Nash. Oxford alumni includes John Lilly, Thomas Lodge, and George Pill. Now, Thomas Kidd is also often included with Wits despite having no confirmed university education. Now, why he often included? Because of his quality of his dramatic work. His quality is a testament of dramatic work. Now, in this slide, we will be discussing Christopher Marlowe, who is also the pioneer of the Elizabethan literature. Marlowe's mighty line, he pioneered the use of dramatic blank verse, unrhymed iambic pentameter, giving English drama its most powerful poetic instrument. His notable works, he has written Dr. Faustus, Tamerlane the Great, Edward II, each exploring overreaching heroes consumed by ambition, power, or forbidden knowledge. These all are the themes of his works and the qualities of his protagonist, characteristics of his protagonist. You can see that also. His legacy, widely regarded as the most gifted of the wits. Without Marlowe's innovations, Shakespeare's dramatic language would be unthinkable. Now, this slide is about other three authors. These three authors are John Lilly, Robert Greene, and George Pill. You can pause the video to have a deeper understanding of all the authors that I have mentioned in this video lecture. Now, legacy of university wits. These three things that I have mentioned in this slide are legacy of the university wits. These three things are elevating the drama, professionalizing the craft, and setting the stage for Shakespeare. Now, part 2 is about the sonnet tradition. From Petrarch, Italy, to the courts and studies of the Elizabethan England, the sonnet became the era's defining poetic form, a vessel for exploring love, time, beauty, and morality. Introduction to the sonnet. Origin and arrival. Sonnet was first created by the Italian poet Petrarch in the 14th century. The sonnet arrived in England through Sir Thomas White and the Earl of Surrey in the early 16th century. Surrey's crucial contribution was adapting the form into English rhyme scheme and reducing blank verse. Now, this is a list of the common themes of the sonnet. These themes are unrequited love and longing, the relentless passage of time, beauty and its inevitable decay, morality and immorality of verse. Now, this is a difference between Petrarch and English sonnets. Petrarch's sonnet, also known as Italian sonnet, because it was introduced by Petrarch in Italy for the first time. English sonnet, also known as Shakespearean sonnet, because when it came into England, it was enhanced by William Shakespeare. Now, through this picture, you can see the difference between the Petrarch sonnet and the English sonnet. Petrarch sonnet covers first 8 lines, then last 6 lines. Because sonnet is a 14 lines rhyming poem written in an iambic pentameter form. First 8 lines asks questions and last 6 lines answers them. First 8 lines also known as octave and last 6 lines known as sestet. The rhyme scheme is A B B A A B B A C D E C D E. And now the English or the Shakespearean sonnet divides the sonnet into following parts. First 4 lines known as quatrain. The rhyme scheme is A B A B. Second 4 lines again known as quatrain divided into rhyme scheme C D C D. Third part is also about 4 lines known as quatrain is divided into E F E F. And last, the final part is a couplet which is divided into 2 lines. Couplet means 2 lines rhyme poem. The volta, the volta meaning turn in Italian, is a pivotal movement in a sonnet where the argument shifts, a question is answered, or an emotion reverses. In the Petrarch form, it falls before the sestet. In the Shakespearean form, it typically precedes the final couplet. The volta is the intellectual heartbeat of the sonnet. Without it, a 14-line poem is merely a list. The Philip Sidney and Astrophil and Stella. The Trendsetter. Published posthumously in 1591, Sidney's sequence ignited the Elizabethan sonnet craze, inspiring a generation of poets to compose their own sequence. The work, 108 sonnets and 11 songs, tracing the passionate, unrequited love of Astrophil, star love for Stella Star, a deeply personal yet artfully crafted narrative. The proof, Sidney demonstrated that English was a language fully capable of emotional depth and structural rigor required for a great lyric poetry. Edmund Spenser's Amity. A new rhyme scheme was introduced by Edmund Spenser, and that rhyme scheme was A B A B B C B C C D C D E E. Each quatrain linked to the next by a shared rhyme, creating a smoother, more organic flow than the standard English sonnet. You can pause the video or pass the video as per your choice. Now, William Shakespeare's sonnets. It was published in the year 1609. It was total 154 sonnets, which was published in a single collection, among the most studied and celebrated poems in the English language. Sonnet 1 to 126 is about the fair youth, addressed to a beautiful young man. Themes are procreation, the ravages of the time, and the power of words to beauty, which is immortal. Sonnet 127 to 152 is about the dark lady. The dark lady, addressed to a mysterious woman of unconventional beauty. Themes of obsessive, conflicted, and deeply human love. A deliberate subversion of the patriarch ideal of the flawless, untouchable woman. Now, part 3 is about the Elizabethan theatre. Elizabethan theatre, from inn yards to purpose built playhouses, the Elizabethan stage transformed storytelling into public spectacle, accessible, electric, and revolutionary. Now, in this slide, I have mentioned how playhouse was built and what was before the playhouse. Plays were performed in vineyards, great halls, and by traveling troops with no permanent home, dependent on the goodwill of the landlords and the weather alike. This all were the things before the playhouses. Now, the first theatre was built in the year 1576. It was built by James and simply named the theatre. It was constructed outside the city of London's deliberately sited in Southwark to evade Puritan censorship and civic regulation. It changed everything. Now, what was the architecture of the public theatre? It includes following structures like the wooden circular or octagonal open air amphitheaters. Theaters like the Globe and the Rose could hold up to 3,000 spectators. Heavens, a painted roof above the stage representing the heavens. Machinery within allowed for dramatic entrances of gods and spirits. The hell, a trap door beneath the stage, represents hell that was used for ghost entrances, sudden disappearances, and moments of supernatural drama. The third stage, a stage jutting deep into the audience, surrounding the actors on three sides, creating remarkable intimacy between performer and spectator. What was the experience of the audience? The groundlings and the galleries. First, the groundlings. Lower class citizens paid a single penny to stand in the pit directly in front of the stage, loud, reactive, and unfiltered. They were the beating pulse of the theatre. The galleries. Wealthier patrons paid more for covered, tired sitting in the surroundings galleries, enjoying shelter and a better view. The open air, daylight, staging meant actors could see their audience clearly, making soliloquies intimate and interactive, almost as if spoken directly to each individual spectator. Now, in this slide, I have mentioned acting companies and stage conventions of that time. And these are first, the patronage, second, all male cast, and third, words over scenery. In my conclusion, I have to say that Renaissance under the University Wits the sonnet and Elizabethan theatre is an enduring legacy. That's all for today's video. In my next video lecture, I will be covering the overview of the major Renaissance writers like Francis Bacon, Christopher Marlowe, Edmund Spenser, and William Shakespeare. Thank you all for joining me today. I hope to see you all soon with my next video.